Good evening. Thank you, President Carter Regan. I can't tell you how many times I spent evenings on this field running sprints for your father. It looks so much nicer today. Back then, after a snowy day, it would freeze over, and I swear we were playing on concrete. It's good to be home. Father Krogan, Principal Lewis, faculty, staff, board members, parents, friends, and of course, the special good evening and congratulations to the class of 2020. I'm grateful and honored to be with you here today at your commencement. What a year to commence. What a year to start a new chapter in life. You'll walk out of here to a world that needs you more than ever. A world that needs men that have been trained to see the other as we awaken to a reckoning with the racial injustice that permeates our society. A world that needs men that have been discerning the best ways to help our neighbors as we deal with the realities of a pandemic that has laid bare the health inequities that come from the disparities we find in social determinants of health. You have been educated in the Jesuit tradition that prepares for this, one that has been established 5 centuries ago by St. Ignatius, to be intellectually competent, loving, and committed to doing justice. Those are the 3 principles of your Jesuit education I'd like to talk a little bit about today. Now, I stand here humbly and can testify that BC High was the most challenging academic institution I've ever attended. When I attended undergraduate at Dartmouth College, graduate school at Tufts University, or leadership programs such as the business school at the University of South Africa in Cape Town, I was more than prepared. I had the tools and skills to meet academic work that was given to me at a very high level. So when it comes to being intellectually competent, I believe you've been given what you need to be competitive, continuously open to growth, and lifelong learners. Now, when it comes to love, I know you've experienced love at BC High, because I too experienced love. But if we're gonna be real, we must admit that BC High wasn't always the most loving environment. It wasn't when I was here. In fact, it was tough being a young black man from Roxbury during my years here. The same racist experiences I faced when I was here are the same experiences your classmates and alumni are posting on the Black at BC High Instagram account. They are the same experiences many black students who are sitting here today have faced. And those experiences have not always been loving. But let's face it, BC High is not alone in that. You can visit any of the Instagram pages of the other prep schools in the country. Besides the particular details of who and when, the experiences have been the same. The experiences are embedded in our society and have been here for a very long time. That's why it's called systemic racism. These experiences have been persistent over decades, and they cut across positions of power and class. We know the numbers and we know the stories. In Emerson President Lee Pelton's letter to students, he writes, in the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd, Black Americans are invisible to most of white America. We live in the shadows. Even those of us who, like me, sit at a table of bounty. In my lifetime, I have been called the N-word by white people in every state and in every city that I've lived in. He continues to write, I've been pulled over driving while black more times than I can remember. I've been spit on by a white parking attendant. The story of President Pelton is the story of too many blacks in America. Love, my friends, asks you to see Lee Pelton. It asks you to see me, to see the others that have posted, that have told their stories and acknowledge that pain. To sing America, said Langston Hughes. I too sing America, as he urges white Americans to acknowledge the pain and accomplishments of Black America. In a recent letter to BC High, President Carter Regan writes about not only recognizing the pain, but a commitment to move to action. We must dedicate ourselves to real, meaningful change and be held accountable for our actions. We are committed to you, she writes. We are committed to actively challenging and changing unjust structures so that we may dismantle systems of racism and oppression. I was proud when I read that. Well, President Carter Regan, thanks for seeing me. Thanks for hearing me. For seeing my fellow alumni and Black students at BC High today. For I too sing BC High. We too love BC High. And it was nice to read that there is a mutual commitment to reconcile that love. Lastly, class of 2020, we come to the commitment of justice, commitment to doing justice, a commitment that is quintessential Jesuit, a commitment that is quintessential BC High. Your voices and your actions based on that commitment are so desperately needed. I'm sure most of you have heard the comparison of Jesus' parable of the lost sheep. But I ask you to bear with me one more time. From Luke chapter 15, I read, "What man among you, having 100 sheep and losing one of them, would not leave the 99 in the desert and go after the one until he finds it? And when he does find it, he sets it on his shoulder with great joy, and upon his arrival home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, and he says to them, 'Rejoice with me, because I have found my lost sheep.'" Now, this doesn't mean that Jesus doesn't care about the other 99 sheep. We know Jesus cares for all the sheep. But it does mean that Jesus is calling us to give particular care and attention to the one sheep because he is lost. The one that is hurt, the one that is crying out for help. Yes, the lives of all sheep matter, which is why the Good Shepherd left the ones that did not need him at the time to go after the one that did. In fact, the only way you can possibly claim that the lives of all sheep matter is to, in fact, take care of every single sheep. So as you leave BC High and you hear the calls and the cries that Black lives matter, don't hear it as a declaration that white lives don't matter, or that somehow calling to reform police practices that have led to disproportionate shootings of Black men mean that lives of police matter any less. The 99 sheep matter. But Black lives need your attention today and your commitment to a society that produces better outcomes for Black people. That commitment is a commitment to a society that produces better outcomes for all people. Now that is looking at it from a perspective of need, but I'll finish by asking you to look at it from a perspective of value, from an asset-based perspective. Don't just do it, don't just step in to help black people and build a more just society because they are crying out for help. Do it because you've learned to value all people. In the same book of Luke, chapter 6, Jesus declares, "Blessed are the poor, for the kingdom of God is yours." Jesus could have said, "Blessed are all people," but he didn't. He said, "Blessed are you who are hungry, for you will be satisfied. Blessed are you who are now weeping, for you will laugh." So I ask you, class of 2020, as you walk out of BC High, like so many before you, in the great tradition of St. Ignatius, to be committed to doing justice, to help push for new policies and practices that are anti-racist, and push for equity, not only because the world is a place of great need, but because as BC High men, you recognize the value in all people, and particularly recognize the value of the other most in need. Thank you, good luck, and God bless.